Hey, how are you?
Good morning. I'm good. How are you?
Good.
Yeah, I'm just so grateful that you're able to be here on with me today. So I'm here in the podcast studio, and we're recording this really amazing content that's super important, I think, for anybody, not just for my audience, which is railroad families. But so I'm so grateful. Thank you very much for being here. And one thing that I wanted to do was kind of give a little info about what you do and how you help families, because you're the founder of Law Mom, right? And you are a PFL, which is a personal family lawyer. And how long have you been a lawyer?
So this is so funny. Someone asked me the other day, and I was like, I don't remember. I think it's about 4 years now. But Law Mom has been in business, like open for 2.5 years. I had a general practice firm before I opened Law Mom.
Awesome. So yeah, you have a wealth of background, a wealth of knowledge that I'm so thankful to be able to share with my audience here. So, and congratulations. This year you were actually named a top trust and estates attorney by Boston Magazine. That's a big deal.
Thank you. Yeah, super cool. I'm so excited. I couldn't do it without my team. Thank goodness for my team, right?
Yes. It definitely helps to have a rock star team backing you up. And so that's something I aspire to do someday.
You got this. I know you can do it.
Oh, you're the best. I appreciate it. So just was going to kind of dive into some of these questions, if that's okay. I want to respect your time and make sure that we make the most of our time with you, because we just have a little bit of it. But yeah, if that's okay, we can just go right on in.
Yeah, I'm ready.
Okay, perfect. So number one question that I have is, it won't cost that much to cremate my body or donate my body to science. So can I just, tell my family that that's what I want done and be done with it? I get that a lot. Everybody's like, oh, just do this and we'll be fine. Is that going to be enough, or?
So it's always our recommendation to go and check out your state law for sure. But with regard to planning purposes, we always encourage clients to write down their wishes, because you want it in writing. If there's ever a conflict or no one's appointed and somebody says, well, so-and-so wanted this and someone else says so-and-so wanted that, the court is the decision maker unless there's documentation in writing.
Mm-hmm.
So we always urge everyone, put it in writing. It might seem easier just to say one way or the other, but, just to be safe, put it in writing, because the most important thing for us when we're working with clients is to help our clients avoid court and avoid conflict. And when the person who wants something done is no longer here and there's nothing written down, then no one really truly knows what the person wanted.
Right.
So we say, write it down.
Yeah. Well, and I know that given different family circumstances, there could be conflict between siblings, aunts, uncles, people, if parents are still living, it just cuts down on some possible turmoil within the family if things are just written down,
Exactly. Right. Totally. And I know we're all busy.
Yes.
And everyone's always like, I forgot, I don't have time. But, in the end, just take a few minutes to write it down, and then you'll feel good after you write it down. You're like, I got something done today. So
right.
That's a real thing.
Well, and I know for me, part of, what made me kind of take a look at these sort of things is I went through, a divorce. And so my circumstances changed. And so, those big life events that happen, you have to look at your estate planning and look at your big picture when those kind of things change. And honestly, I want to make sure that there's no question, with my family, with all of that. And so it's really important just to have all of that done and written down. So thank you for that. Next question. I have a will. My family's all set, right?
So it's really important to understand what a will does and doesn't do. And again, I keep defaulting back to check your state law. Specifically speaking, where I'm located in Massachusetts, we always talk to our clients, or even during educational presentations, about wills. There's this huge myth that you have a will and you're all set. Some families, a will works. Sometimes it doesn't work for the specific family dynamic. So a will basically says your wishes, where your assets will go, whom you want them to go to. However, what a lot of people don't understand is that a will does go through probate court. So if the intention is to avoid probate court, avoid the court costs, avoid the long time that probate takes, it's even longer now after everything we've gone through, you would want to really think about utilizing a will, a living trust. And most times people say, I don't need a trust, I'm not rich, I'm not wealthy. But if you own a home, for example, and again, depending on state law, you can utilize a living trust, put your home in it, and it will avoid the probate court if properly titled into the name of your trust. So you can look at a will versus living trust. They do the same thing. The will goes through probate court, and the trust is done really outside of the court through trust administration if done correctly. So it's really important to have an attorney, drafting, talking to you, looking at your specific family dynamic and explaining to you the differences and the different tools you can use in estate planning, because sometimes we have clients that want a will and it works for them and they understand, their family will go through probate court and they're okay with it. And then sometimes we have clients, we explain what a will does and they want to utilize trust planning. So you could be all done if you are okay with your family having to go through the probate court and your assets being tied up in the court and then being distributed through the court. And that's a really brief answer. There's more that goes into it. But it's definitely something to think about.
Exactly. So just as kind of a follow-up question, I didn't have this written down, but it just came to me. What are some of the costs that could come with having a will go through probate?
So when you have a will, you have to file with the court, you pay the court fees, and then you have to put notice, basically, depending on the situation, in the newspaper. That is pretty much a minimal fee, but it still costs money. If there's property involved, there has to be a sale of the property. So sometimes that includes appraisers coming in and appraising the property, different things. So it's really dependent on what assets the person who passed away has in terms of fees. And then if you hire an attorney, there's attorney's fees that come along with that. And then really the biggest thing for most people is the time. Right now we have some clients who have hired us to help them in probate, and it's been 2 years since the person had passed away for the assets to continue through probate. So it's really, time and money.
Yeah. And as families are going through the grieving process, all of this course, coupled on top of that seems almost overwhelming. So.
Yes, a lot of our clients dealing through probate is super overwhelming. So we spend a lot of time educating on, doing a will now and really what it means for your family later.
Right. Definitely. Yeah. Thank you so much for all of that information. I'm just learning so much already with my audience, and this is why I have the best power partners ever. So
I got you.
Yes. So next question. I had a friend that said she, went online to LegalZoom and set up, her will online and it was super cheap and she got it all done. And so is she all set? What does it look like whenever somebody goes online and sets up their own will online?
So my first thought is, oh no. My second thought is, well, having something is better than nothing, but will that something work, right?
Right.
So when you're using an online platform, I don't know how it's set up, but you're typing information in. You want to make sure that your state law is correctly reflected in there. If you have to have 2 witnesses for a will, do you need a notarization? What does it look like? Is it clear that all of the state law boxes are checked off in the document that you just put together? When we're reviewing online forms and documents, oftentimes we make recommendations to update them and change them because there's stuff missing. And then it goes back to estate planning is also about leaving behind a legacy, right? What's important, not just the documents, because if you think about it, when someone passes away, what do you think about the memories of that person, right? Like with my grandma, I always talk about this. Like I had, right before she passed away, we had spent time in Florida, and I have all these stories that my cousins didn't get to share with her, and I wish I recorded them, but I didn't. So we work with clients on that front too. Yeah. For like a basic online platforms, I don't think it's true always to like what the specific needs are. Like when a client comes in, they can sit in front of me and say, you know, this is what is important to me. I'm worried about estate tax. I'm worried about this. And we can really draw out and show them different creative ways to help accomplish their goals.
For sure.
And I haven't done an online document with regard to estate planning, but I'm not quite sure that that's available where you have a person in front of you. And then at our office, you come in every 3 years, you meet with us complimentary for an hour, and we go through and we talk to you about updates in your family and different changes, because your plan shouldn't just get stuck in like the junk drawer, right? That everyone has. I think I have like 10 of them.
Yeah.
But in terms of, right. I'm like, they keep growing.
How is this happening?
Right. Why do I have all this stuff? Yeah. But it's super important to update and make sure. And I think, you know, the more specific you can be in your planning, the better. And the more clear you can be for your family to keep people out of conflict. Because when people pass away, I mean, there's so much conflict that can come up if wishes are misunderstood or somebody gets more than someone else. So a lot of our clients write letters to their family members or their beneficiaries, and it really, really helps. Like when you see it on the other end, when someone does pass away, you see like, okay, this is why so-and-so did this.
Right.
You know, and it solves so much.
Yeah. It really is a love gift to your family.
Yeah.
You know, you're cutting down on that conflict. You're cutting down on anything that, you know, potentially could create rifts in between your loved ones, because you want everybody to come together during that time. Right. You don't want any animosity at all. So, that's really great. Now, kind of following up with that, what is the difference? Some of the specific differences between a will and an estate plan? Because you teach on this, right? You actually teach webinars and classes on these things, right?
Yeah. So really, when you think of estate planning, a will is part of it, right? So there's different packages and different things you can do in terms of overall estate planning. So I would say like estate planning is this like umbrella, and then you have wills and trusts, powers of attorneys, like all the things that you need from incapacitation or documents. I shouldn't say things, documents. I spent all my weekend with my 1 and 3 year olds. So I'm like, things, you know.
Yes, words.
Right, words, Samantha, say the words. So the documents that you need from incapacitation through passing away, and that's something we heavily focus on, excuse me, in our office. So when I talk to potential clients or educate on estate planning, we look at incapacitation, and we say, okay, if something were to happen to you, how can someone access your bank accounts, for example? We can do that with a power of attorney. So we do that document if you're incapacitated, for example. Healthcare proxy, HIPAA, communication tool with medical professionals. And then we say, we've got incapacitation covered. Now let's move on to when you pass away, a will or a trust. And all of these things fall under the estate planning realm. And for us, we also include legacy planning. So those letters, the interviews, the stories, the recordings, if clients want to do that. So it's really this like umbrella with different documents that fall under to accomplish goals, so that if something were to happen, you're covered. If you can't speak, you have a document. If you pass away, there's a document saying what you want.
Yeah, that's all. Yeah, really. And that's kind of part of where, you know, we specialize in too, is, you know, having that life insurance information in that estate plan, so that family knows what they have, you know, set up for that coverage. So that goes into that estate plan too, right?
Right. And so that's a really good point, because we also have, we call it a family wealth asset inventory. So we have this Excel spreadsheet. We work with advisors like you in terms of, okay, so we have this policy, this client has this policy, their house is held like this, and then there's beneficiaries named on this policy, or there's a trust here, and we keep track of it, because if you check in your state, the Department of Unclaimed Property across the nation, each state is pretty high. I think Massachusetts in particular is like 2.6 billion approximately. So a lot of that is from assets that people don't know a loved one has had, or there's no beneficiary, or it hasn't been put into an estate plan, for example. So it's just sitting there. And people have to go through a whole thing to access it. Even if they can access it, it takes quite a long time. So that's something to check out as well. So that estate planning also covers that.
That's amazing. That's crazy. I had no idea that number was that high. That's crazy. So actually we're kind of I'm skipping ahead to a question here, but how should, our estate plans be held? And as far as retirement accounts, should we do trust? Should we just have beneficiaries listed on our life insurance policies? What's the best way to, plan for that, for the end?
This is such a good question. So I always tell our clients to come in and talk to us, because it really is specific to your family dynamic. Do you have minor children? Do you have a child with a special need? Do you have an adult child with a special need? All of these things come into play when you're naming beneficiaries. Do you have multiple children? Like different things happen, and especially with retirement accounts. Are you married? Do you have a spouse? They should be listed first at this point. But there was a big, and then I believe we spoke about this before, but the government had put together Secures Act. So we walk our clients through and talk to them about the Secures Act, the options that they have. And then we also work with their advisors in terms of making the best decisions based on the specific family need.
Right. Yeah, that's really, working with a professional. Definitely. And 100% work with a professional.
And I feel like such a lawyer, because I'm like, well, actually there's A, B, C, D, but it's true, because I can't say do this and you're good, because I wouldn't know the specifics, right? And then we also want to take into account the whole estate as well when we're making recommendations on types of plans that would work best for the family in front of me. And the biggest thing for us is we really listen to the family, right? Because I could say, this is what you need to do. This is so important. But the family in front of me might say, Sam, we don't want to do that. And as long as they're educated and they understand what their decisions are, we're good with that here, because we know they've gone through the education process and they know the pros and cons of decisions.
Exactly. We have always been on the same wavelength when it comes to education first. Like we have to make sure that our clients are educated on these different avenues of life. And I always say, a confused mind just shuts down, right? So understanding these aspects are so important.
And that's why you're my favorite.
Oh, well, you're my favorite too. Oh, okay. So going through to the next question, what types of professionals do I need to speak with in order to be set up properly for retirement and for an untimely death?
So, by default, we generally ask our clients, or during our education meeting, do you have a advisor, financial advisor? Do you have a CPA? What's important to you? Because again, it's that family dynamic in terms of sometimes we have clients picking a fiduciary to oversee their trust, for example. So it's somebody else with duties that is in charge, or with fiduciary duties, so they have to follow rules. That's in charge of the estate if the trustee were to pass away, and they oversee, because sometimes people don't want family members involved. So we take a deep dive and we ask. But I would say estate planning attorney, advisor, life insurance agent for sure, and then your CPA for tax purposes. Excuse me one second. That way, these professionals can work together. And we're big believers in working together. Of course, we have to get permission to talk to people, right? Because of confidentiality in place. However, the better plans that I see are with clients who do have the professionals in place, and then the professionals work together as a team to accomplish the goals. Because you could say something to me and I'd be like, oh, I never thought about that, because I'm so legal focused, right? And then we have a conversation and we're like, oh, this would work great for our client here.
Right. Right. Yeah, that's awesome. Yeah, all working together to benefit, our clients, the family first. So, yeah.
Exactly.
Awesome. Awesome. Okay. One more question, and this is one that I'm super interested in because I love talking about taxes, not how to pay more, how to pay less. So
right.
what are estate taxes and how can we potentially avoid them?
So good question. There's federal taxes and then there's state estate taxes. So definitely check your state estate tax and then also look at federal tax. So when we're thinking of minimizing estate tax, there's creative ways, again, going back to the specific family dynamic and the situation. There's different creative tools we can use in terms of, for example, trust planning. When we work with clients who have estate tax issues in Massachusetts, once you hit $1 million, you have an estate tax issue. So that's a big thing in our state. We talk to clients about separate trust planning, including multiple trusts, looking at irrevocable trust planning to help minimize down their future estate tax issues for their family. It's a pretty detailed and complex planning. So how we work here is we start with a foundation, talking to our clients about picking important people and those types of things. And then we move into, okay, are you worried about estate tax? And these are the options that you have. And then over time, again, going back to those 3-year check-ins, as wealth hopefully grows, we explain to clients the additional options they have in terms of planning, because there are multiple ways to use trust to help minimize your estate tax, but you can't have your cake and eat it too. So most of the time that's giving up power, right? So that's the biggest thing. And anytime we're doing estate tax planning, we have additional meetings in terms of options and decision making because of the power shift, essentially, in terms of helping to save money on taxes. And then also, we don't know what someone's estate will look like when they pass away, right? So we want to be careful of not over planning and then causing issues for their family as well.
Exactly. Which again is why we work with professionals. We 100%. Don't do all of this ourselves because we don't know. I mean, I'm in a completely different realm of work than you who work the law. And so having these people, to diversify your planning is so important. I agree. I wish everybody would do it.
It's the one thing that you should put time into, because we always say your family will know if you didn't plan for them. And it's really hard for us on the back end when people come in and there wasn't a plan done, because that's the state plan for you, right? Yeah. Whatever your state law is. It's really, really hard because or not, we do have emotions to see families. And they're like, if my family just planned, this would be, easy. And then it's like, it's a lot of time and money and going to the court and dealing with the attorneys and figuring out where everybody is that's named in the document, or if no document, in a will, if no will, figuring out by state law who we have to notify. And I see it, it's a lot for people because, like you said, they're going through the grieving process.
Yeah. Again, it's just going to come back to this is a love gift for your family.
Love gift. I love that.
For your your future. And me, I'm 37 years old. I don't want to think about these things. I don't want to talk about these things because what am I being faced with? My mortality, right? I don't want to think about, not being here for my family, but in the world we live in, life happens. There's no guarantee. We have no guarantees for any of our future. And so thinking about this sooner rather than later is what we have to do. So.
Right. And then you have everyone that we meet with that finishes and signs their documents, so they have peace of mind, and there's this weight that they didn't realize they had lifted off their shoulders.
Right. Yeah. Same. It's, my family, I'm protected, with this life insurance. I have these living benefits, and now, I have this plan, and my family knows exactly my wishes, and all of these vehicles are what I've done to give to them so that, they're taken care of. Yeah, it's pretty
I love
spectacular
it.
what we do. So I want to, again, respect your time and thank you so much, Sam, for being here and being on. I know you're in Massachusetts, but you have partners all over the country, right, that work and that you vetted and work with you. And so, you know, if people contact you, you have referrals out across all the states, right?
So we do have referrals. So they're not part of Law Mom. You have to always say that, right? So Law Mom is separate from them. But if someone were in need of an attorney, we can point you in the direction and you can reach out and make your decisions. But if you check out the Personal Family Lawyer website, there's attorneys all over the country there. Again, not affiliated with us, but it's definitely a great resource. And again, whenever someone calls my office, I always try to find a referral that they can connect with and start planning because it's so important.
Yeah, definitely. And you and I found each other on Instagram because Sam has a lot of amazing content on Instagram. Follow her at Law Mom. And I just found such value even before we connected from your content on Instagram. And I just love what you give, not only to your community, but to us across the country. And so, again, just want to say thank you for your time today. And I think that's pretty much all I had for you.
Thank you. This is awesome. I love talking to you, and you have the best content too. So, you know, every little bit helps.
Yes.
And if we can help protect one family a day, that's awesome for me.
That's our job is the best, and it's always made the best by these partnerships. And so I am beyond grateful and hope you have a wonderful rest of your day.
Thank you so much. Have a great week. I'll talk to you soon.
Thanks, girl. Bye.
Thanks. Bye.